There were individuals who got charged.
You knew the rules. This is putting people's lives at risk.
That there's a lot of cannabis stores going to be opening up in Brampton. Welcome to the Grewalz show. I'm your host, Singh Grewalz. Everybody, Sat Shri Akal. Today in my studio, I have my guest, Harkirat Singh, City Councillor, City of Brampton, and we'll be talking about what's happening in the City of Brampton. Welcome, Mr. Singh.
Thank you. Sat Shri Akal to everybody, and thank you. It's always a pleasure to be on the Grewalz show.
Harkirat Singh, we want to know what's happening in Brampton these days with the COVID situation.
Yeah. So COVID, first of all, our heart and prayers go out to all the people that lost their lives. I know you knew many, and I do too. And their families obviously went through a tough time. So the city of Brampton really came together. And I have to give credit to all levels of government. Party politics, everybody put it to the side, rolled up their sleeves and started working together. So we were able to make sure that our healthcare system was running well, prepared for additional cases as well. Our social sector really stepped up. In Brampton, we already lack funding in healthcare. We also lack it in social services, but I got to give a lot of credit to Knightsbridge, other nonprofits that stepped up with food kitchens and food banks, and including our places of worship. United Sikhs opened up at Peter Robertson, Guru Nanak Mission Center, Gurdwara. Khalsa Eid opened up at Rana Sidhu's banquet hall, and you know, credit goes out to them. So the community really came together during COVID. Now we're seeing, we had a dip obviously in the cases, they decreased, but as you hear from Premier Ford and Mayor Brown, the cases are spiking again. And so we're worried again, and obviously we have some modified restrictions in place. We'll go back and assess where the cases are, if they're slowing down, and if we need to continue some of these restrictions.
So as we all understand, like during Thanksgiving, there was a big spike, big spike in numbers. But again, all the politicians from all levels of government always said that to curb down on the number of guests and whatnot. Now with Diwali coming up, are there any special precautions or instructions given out to the general public? Yeah,
we're as of now, it's funny you're asking this because I was also talking to one of our newsprint mainstream news outlets just about this. So as of now, there are restrictions in place for Halloween. We're advising not to go door to door. For Diwali, I expect the same restrictions for social gatherings, 25 people outside, 10 people inside. I would advise that we don't go house to house, you know, but we'll be doing a lot of awareness around this because, and especially in ethnic media, because that's sort of the population that celebrates Diwali or Bandi Chhod Divas. And it's important that they're aware that you can get hefty tickets, especially during this time.
Now, regarding tickets, how you just said that, Brampton has been in the news all the time that lots of people are getting big fines. But last few weeks, that's not the case, is it?
No, because we've had good compliance, you know. So this was interesting. When we were getting an increase in cases, you know, there was people not following the rules. We saw some viral things on Six Buzz and Brimley Road. But overall, I can be honest, the community did quite well. The rise of cases, I don't think was as majorly a compliance issue. Yes, there were cases and compliance was an issue. I think the mayor said it well when he did an op-ed, and today I was doing a lot of media. Today I was on another show talking about this as well, and I think you'll appreciate people in Brampton, out of, you know, your circle, my circle, we know we are at the front ends. We are doing the things that are backbone of Ontario. We're doing trucking, we're doing taxis, we're in the long-term care, you know, all the, especially our women, work extensively as personal support workers, nurses. So we're already susceptible and prone to getting, COVID because we're at the front line. I don't think that was being appreciated by mainstream sort of media, that Brampton Brampton is at the front lines. And old wars were fought with soldiers and all that. In this war against COVID-19, Brampton, everybody's doing their part, but I would say Brampton disproportionately is at risk because many of our people, the professions they're in, is at the front line of fighting this virus.
Frontline workers, it could be even people working at fast food places.
100%, that's a great example.
At hospitals. There's a lot of big population which is living in Brampton itself. And as I always say, like once you leave Brampton, you could go right downtown itself in any restaurant. There are people working and they're living in Brampton.
100%. I'll give you another example. I used to be a professor before, and a lot of the students I taught, international students, they were from Brampton. And then years later, when they graduated, every restaurant I'd go to, I'd see some of my old students.
There you go.
Right? So, that's sort of the Brampton work ethic. We want to work hard. We'll do whatever we have to pay our bills, and I think that's something to be proud of too.
So now, as we heard that there were individuals who got charged, and the fines could be up to $100,000. Is there any update as to whatever happened with their cases?
No, so we would issue the tickets, and then the court system right now is really slowed down because with the COVID. So I think we'll get an update on those in the next 6 months to a year. It'll be interesting. Some of them aren't as clear cut, but I think they were effective in deterring people because they would make the media and people realize, listen, the city of Brampton is serious. I'll be honest, I used to get calls from people who got tickets, right? But I'm like, listen, like if it's a parking thing or something, sure, right? Like we can look into it. But you knew the rules. This is putting people's lives at risk. I can't be doing this, trying to talk to staff and see if there's any wiggle room because there shouldn't be wiggle room. Like, and if you remember in the early days, especially the summer months, we had some well-known people in the community pass away.
That's true.
And really well-known, even in media. And so, I thought it would have been a disservice even to them if we were starting to be lenient.
And again, I think everybody has to do their part.
Exactly.
For COVID, if someone is not doing their part, should be charged.
Exactly.
And if they are charged, then whatever happens in court happens.
Exactly. Go defend yourself there with the lawyer.
That's true.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about COVID, I know even before COVID came, there was always an issue with the Brampton Hospital.
Yeah.
And now recently, Premier Ford has given some money to the Brampton Hospital. Now, you as a city member, as a city councillor, are you happy with having 41 beds allotted by Premier Ford?
Yeah, so as a short-term immediate measure, it is a good step. I can't deny that. But I just want to go back briefly into the history. So I was the one who put the motion forward to declare a healthcare emergency in Brampton, which we were in emergency. And I was super critical of the government, and we made a lot of mainstream media, and it really got them moving. Then COVID hit, and to be honest, during COVID, even in healthcare, we slowed our criticism down because we're like, this is a time to work together. And we did work together because I could tell you there was plans in place for third sites, like kind of like operational hospitals in a short term. Those plans were ready. So to be honest, the government did a good job of what they could do given COVID, and their plans were actually quite good. So, where respect is due, we do respect their decision. So this is immediate funding right now that we can start with within, right away, which is healthy. We also heard positive messaging around William Osler's second site, Peel Memorial, about making it phase 2. So I'm delighted. They're on the design.
Do you think that's going to happen?
Yeah, I do. I think it will happen. I know they've submitted the designs. I know that personally. It's for the new hospital, and I would just say that it's important for media and us to ask that it definitely includes a full-fledged emergency room, because I haven't heard that in the messaging.
Because I always say my daughters and a lot of my family's kids had apples at the Peel Memorial Hospital with their name and date of birth written, and all those things were even taken down when Peel Memorial Hospital
it was a poor
down.
decision. Yeah, and I'll be honest. And to be fair, it wasn't this government's decision to close down Peel Memorial, but that was a poor decision because. I'll be honest, when I got elected, I started meeting with the hospital, and I was shocked to hear that they used to call it integrated health, and that's good, but it wasn't going to include emergency room. And I'm like, what, like, how do you expect City of Brampton residents to be happy with one emergency room at Brampton Civic Hospital and you're a 650,000 legal population? Legal. We know there's probably well over 700,000, right? That's not sufficient. That's not good enough. So this government is using words like we're going to have a full-fledged hospital, back to what it used to be. So unfortunate that
they had to take it down and build a small building.
But I'll take it because we do need a second hospital, and this is the easiest thing to make into a hospital. So I'm hearing with the Ford government and Minister Sarkadia's messaging that it will be a full-fledged hospital, but I haven't heard yet, and I would ask media, and definitely we'll be asking those questions too. It needs to include a full-fledged emergency room. There was talks of it including a 24-hour urgent care center, but in my opinion, my residents, I hear what they want. They will not accept anything less than an emergency room.
Mr. Singh, your questions we'll be asking to those politicians next time when they're in our studio. So you will get to hear as to what they say on recording.
Yeah, perfect. So, thank you. And I know you'll ask that because quite a lot of the healthcare history here, which a lot of people don't know, and we've been underfunded for a long time.
That's true. Well, we have to go to a short break. Keep on watching the Grewalz Show with Mr. Singh today. As City of Brampton, we have a lot of more questions for Councillor Singh. So keep on watching. Wait for the break. Welcome back to the Grewalz Show. I'm your host, Gurinder Singh Grewal. I have Mr. Singh, Councillor, City of Brampton, in our studios. We're discussing issues in regards to City of Brampton. Welcome back, Mr. Singh.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be here.
So, Mr. Singh, within your wards and all of Brampton, but let's focus on your wards, there have been a huge accidents where fatalities have happened, individuals have been killed on the spot, families have been destroyed. City of Brampton has come up with these speed cameras. Are there any speed cameras in your wards?
Yes, there's one. Each ward pairing had one camera, so we had 5 as a pilot project. So 9 and 10 had one, and then the other 4 pairings had one camera each.
So, as I said, in your wards, there have been a lot of accidents.
Yes, major.
Mayfield Road is open now, which is 5 lanes open as of today. And hopefully it's going to be 6 lanes in the next coming weeks. Are there any intentions of getting more cameras?
Yes, there is. We're looking for a significant amount more cameras because it's been quite successful. I know people don't like getting tickets, and I know the way the current system is, even if you're one over, it finds you a small amount. It's sort of laddered. So one over, it's like maybe $5, and as you get more, it can be substantially more. But you have to remember that the areas we're targeting are actually school zones. So there is actually zero tolerance towards speeding in those zones. So yeah, the fines are happening. I think as of recent, I was watching, it was covered on CBC recently, and I think we're at about 6,000 tickets have been issued through those 5 cameras.
So with those tickets being issued, I can imagine there's a big revenue stream coming to the city of Brampton.
Of course, there's going to be a
revenue stream. Is there going to be more cameras set down? Because again, coming back to a family being destroyed, a mother and 3 young children.
I know exactly.
The whole community of Brampton and Caledon were together on that day. But still, as of even today, it's been several months, there is no police presence on Countryside Drive. Anywhere other than Countryside and Highway 410 or Heart Lake Road, whereby by that time the traffic is already slowed down. Why is that?
So they actually did do speed traps on Countryside. They released a press release on that. But you're right. The issue becomes this. Even if they do speed traps for a week straight, behavior changes for a month and then it goes back, right? I think what the speed cameras offer is a bit more of a permanent solution. So the speed camera is there. You can't speed. It actually impacts behavior a lot more effectively than police even setting up speed traps. We also had Project Noisemaker in the summer, which targeted mufflers. I think they issued over 200 tickets for those mufflers as well. And I used to get calls and call the police right away and go there. Sometimes they would get them, sometimes miss them. Luckily, sometimes neighbors were very helpful. They would report, somebody on their street that had the modified muffler, because you could do all this anonymously on the website as well. And police are good. They know this is serious, especially when it comes to speeding, and they got some results. But to change that behavior for the long term, which is what we ultimately want, I think speed cameras will be quite effective.
So in City of Brampton, as we all know, homelessness is also an issue.
Yeah.
Especially in the downtown core.
Yes.
What is the city doing in regards to that?
So we do homelessness. We have social support there as well, and we do have a police presence. Unfortunately, sometimes there is criminal activity linked with this, and we are looking at having a downtown, like a smaller police station, like a satellite station. So these are the things that we're working on in the downtown core. Sometimes we see them on the streets as well, asking for money, which you've probably seen,
yes.
Especially alongside the 410 ramp. But police has been clamping down. I mean, yesterday I could tell you I saw myself on 410 in Queen. Police were pulling over and talking to somebody who was begging for money. They know that the community is quite upset. In Canada, it's a country full of laws, and some things, some laws aren't strict enough, and so there's a lot of gray area with we call them panhandlers. But I know police is still stopping, asking questions, making sure that nothing criminal is happening.
Now, with COVID around with us from last several months, is there any update on the university coming to
so
the city?
we just had talks with the university in the morning today. So those are being talked about. But concrete-wise, I think you'll hear some announcements next year. The Ford government does know that when they canceled the cybersecurity campus, that it wasn't politically popular in the city of Brampton. They canceled. You probably remember this. As soon as we got elected, I think the next day they canceled all three campuses. So we're still working with them, and hopefully we'll have a solution that works to some degree early next year.
Now, recently a big change came inside of City of Brampton. Brampton Soccer Centre's name has been changed.
Yeah.
Now, the vast majority of Bramptonians are asking the question, and the question is City of Brampton selling their buildings?
Yeah, our assets are, there's 5 assets for sponsorship strategies, and this is common practice. You could go on our website, you go on City of Toronto's website, you could go on City of Mississauga's website. And I was told this morning, people weren't aware, and they actually advertised on Globe and Mail about our sponsorship strategy. So they did, and they had released press releases about our sponsorship strategy. I've advised that we should maybe do some more ethnic media on sponsorship strategy, because people in our community told me that they didn't know about this and they would be interested. And I advised them, listen, like, this is the first one that happened, and we obviously going to get learning out of this too. Obviously the same comments you heard, I heard, I've been talking to everyone, and I'm like, well, some people didn't like the time frame, like 15 years they thought was too long. So some of the calls I've been doing, okay, we can look at only 10-year deals. And I'm like, if you're interested, these are other 4 or 5 websites. I can tell you right now, there's companies who are really interested. And at the end of the day, when we did our audit, because we brought in 0% tax increase the last 2 years. When we did our audit, there's 2 things. There's one is you look at where you can cut costs, which we've been doing. The second thing is you look at where you can
bring in revenue.
Yeah, and this was identified as a revenue stream, right? So it's that balance. I know. There might be personal issues with people and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's not a political process. It was a conversation with staff. Our lawyers were involved, and the person got it.
So now coming back to a very big issue in all of Brampton. Forget our community. It's all of Brampton. That there's a lot of cannabis stores going to be opening up in Brampton.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah, so I didn't support the cannabis stores, and I'll give you an example where community coming together works. So community came together for this, and ultimately It was about 50-50, like I would say 50, maybe not in my wards, but in the city, it was definitely around 50-50 of support for cannabis and against. So council decided the way it did. 3 councillors went against. I did, Councillor Dillon and Councillor Williams. So that got approved. But we still have power. When they tried to pass it at Treeline, the community came together, and that location was not approved. Right? So I wrote letters against it. Councillor Dillon did, Balbir Sohi did, Mayor Brown did. And so when the community does come together, it ultimately works. I'll be honest, there's areas where cannabis stores open up and there's no resistance.
Yes.
Right? That happens. So
and that's the other concern with the citizens have, that in Brampton there's going to be like 15 to 20 stores in the next couple of months.
No, I don't think that's the case, but because they have to do a 90-day open period where you can send in your complaints and whatnot. And I think, you know what, it's not a bad approach, because there are communities that don't want it, and they should have the power to not have it. There are communities that do want it. I'm telling you, there's communities where there was no resistance or very little.
True.
Let them have it, right? Let's not take that right away from each other. Ultimately, you know, we could say politics is this. Some people were saying it's already approved. They're just doing this, but I was like, just send the letters and let's try our best. And it really worked. That Treeline area was gonna have a cannabis store if the community did not come together. You know, and credit where credit's due. I thank the government for that, right? Because they listened to the citizens. That would have been a disaster. I think you know which area I'm talking about, Treeline. We would have never heard the end of it, and it was good to see that when we come together. You know, sometimes people are like, you guys make noise and nothing happens. You know, there are examples where we make noise and something happens. And something did happen. In a positive way, in a very positive way.
Now, during COVID, what's your response as far as the federal government is giving the money to the city?
You know, it's very collegial, and there are announcements. One's almost ready to be made. I can't announce that. I really want to, but they're stepping up their funding, and it's good to hear. I think you're going to see a lot of significant infrastructure funding. I can give you one that's coming down the pipeline that we're working on, and that's a bus terminal in my area in Highway 50 side with 1,000 full-time jobs. 1,000. It's like, I don't know if you know the facility in Sandalwood. There's a massive, so this will be even bigger than that. Mechanic jobs, drivers, because our public transit is growing at such a immense rate.
So are the routes going to increase also?
Yeah. It'll be all across the board changes. We're also looking at Queen Street BRT. So the lanes, the 2 lanes that you probably know in Vaughan for the bus.
That's right.
We're going to carry it all the way into Brampton. So it'll help our kids that go to York University. It'll help people
until we get a university.
Yeah, until we get a university. The great point. And it'll help people who want to go to downtown, and much cheaper to go through the subway.
That's right.
Right, and I think it'll be fantastic, and I think it will change the city of Brampton forever.
Well, our time is almost done.
Yes.
Anything else you would like to say to the viewers watching our show?
Yeah, I just want to say, listen, I know COVID has been tough for everybody. I know with especially children studying from home, it's tough for our parents. Just stay positive. We're going to get through this together. And just, I know it's tough, but keep up with the social distancing. There's nieces and nephews I haven't seen since COVID began, just to make sure, we're following safety precautions and we're not putting the most vulnerable at risk. So please practice social distancing. Only 10 people inside and 20 people outside as of now. and please wear your masks.
Well, thank you for watching the Grewalz Show. Keep on watching us on Punjab Star TV, Facebook, YouTube. Like us, comment us, tell us who you want as a guest on our next shows, and tell us what you want to ask those guests. We'll ask those questions, and the guests will be answering the questions back to us. Well, thank you again, Mr. Singh.
Thank you.
Sat Shri Akal.